Said famed film critic Roger Ebert about war movies at the time: A, war movies are about war, but B, war movies are about the soldier. The 502nd board troop planes that fly over Normandy, marking the beginning of the Normandy invasion. It is especially impressive for its time, considering that it only used 80 extras and 2 landing craft. And despite all the shooting and bombing, the 2 male leads, Parker and Winter, find themselves with plenty of time to squabble over the young lady.
Warning: the following video portrays graphic scenes of battlefield violence. Though the bloodier segments have been removed, some discretion is advised.
Welcome back, stranger. As you may know, it is now today, the 6th of June, the 5th anniversary of the D-Day invasion of Normandy by Allied forces during World War II. As we have an expression here in the United States that freedom isn't free, and at no time in history has this been more the case than on this fateful day. The event is one of the most dramatic in history, and it is also probably the event most remembered in somber reverence, with the exception of perhaps the Battle of the Somme in World War I, and for the United States, the Japanese invasion of Pearl Harbor. As it is so dramatic and so well remembered, it is also perhaps one of the most portrayed events in cinema since its happening in 1944. Today we will cover 6 movies and television series that featured the event, either documented or dramatized. This is 6 portrayals of the D-Day invasion in cinema. Number 6 is 2001's television series The Band of Brothers, specifically episode 2. Nearly right after directing and starring in, respectively, Saving Private Ryan, Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks executive produced this series for HBO, showcasing the easy company of the American 101st Airborne Division. The television drama stars Damian Lewis as its central character, Major Richard Winters, and also features David Schwimmer in a dramatic departure from his typical comedic roles, which of its time was the world's most expensive television series. It was based on the popular nonfiction account by American historian Stephen Ambrose, who drew heavily on his interviews with survivors, as well as memoirs written by actual Easy Company soldiers. As I said, it is episode 2 of this series that depicted D-Day starting at night, where paratroopers dropped over a wide area in the designated drop zone, and then later on in series 3 went on to fight the Battle of Carrington that followed shortly after D-Day invasion. The episode was heavily lauded for its authenticity, which was thanks in part to veterans' close involvement in the project as advisors on set and behind the scenes. The premiere of the adaptation was shown at the Utah Beach Memorial on the famous landing site, in which many veterans even attended. The show became a worldwide hit, and Band of Brothers was widely praised for depicting war in its grim realities and not artistic sensationalization. Coming in at number 5 is 1956's D-Day, the 6th of June, directed by Henry Koster and starring Dana Winter, Robert Taylor, and Richard Todd. D-Day, the 6th of June was perhaps the first big-budget epic film to feature the D-Day invasion, and was based on the 1955 novel of the same name by Lionel Shapiro. Shapiro was a war correspondent and writer, and saw firsthand what the war was like rather than writing from afar. The film, beside featuring prolonged depictions of war, also is centered around a love triangle not unlike Casablanca, featuring 2 soldiers and their shared love interest in Valerie Russell, played by Dana Winter. The movie goes back and forth between interactions between Parker and Winter, as well as the D-Day invasion itself, and then finally reaches a tragic conclusion that leaves the story rather unresolved. It is especially impressive for its time, considering that it only used 80 extras and 2 landing craft. And despite all the shooting and bombing, the 2 male leads, Parker and Winter, find themselves with plenty of time to squabble over the young lady. From big budget, epic, dramatic stunners, we will go to a surprisingly low budget entry on the list, being 1980's The Big Red One. Said famed film critic Roger Ebert about war movies at the time: A, war movies are about war, But B-war movies are about the soldier, and it's true. This is a character-focused film about the soldiers, and though it features some very surprisingly well-made battle scenes, considering the budget and technology of the time, the actors' portrayals of the soldiers really steal the show. Fuller wrote the movie himself, based on several World War II veterans' wartime experiences, and like any B-movie of the time, it bears the director's name. The film stars Lee Marvin as the unnamed sergeant character, as well as his 1st Infantry Division, also known as the Big Red One, where it gets its name, from the deserts of Africa to the battlefields of Northern and Central Europe. Said Fuller himself regarding the film and its subject matter: the real glory of war is survival. And after watching the D-Day invasion depicted in this film, you would agree, probably. At number 3, we have the 1956 action-packed Screaming Eagles, directed by Charles F. Hass.
And unfortunately, I couldn't find any footage of this film, so in the meantime, enjoy some stock footage.
As with episode 2 of The Band of Brothers, Screaming Eagles is set during the night of the Norman invasion and features the 101st Airborne Division as they jumped into France. The 502nd board troop planes that fly over Normandy, marking the beginning of the Normandy invasion. And as soon as the 101st reached the shores of France, overhead the Germans manned anti-aircraft cannons and aimed towards the planes, shooting some of them down. Only 7 members of the party survive. The film stars Tom Tryon, Jan Merlin, and Jacqueline Beer. And fun fact, Jan Merlin was originally supposed to play Private Mason due to his reputation for playing villains. But because Tom Tryon was significantly taller, the two agreed to switch roles to make filming easier. At number 2 is the definitive 1962 classic, and what was for the longest time the most realistic depiction of D-Day invasion on screen. And I am referring to, of course, The Longest Day. For many, the 3-hour epic still remains the ultimate portrayal of the D-Day invasion. It was originally black and white, though colorized in 1994 for its 50th anniversary of the landing. It boasted a cast of thousands and no fewer than 5 directors during its filming run, but the 2 brainchilds behind the film were perhaps producer Daryl Zanuck and author Cornelius Ryan, the latter of whom wrote the non-fiction book of the same name that formed the basis of the screenplay. The film was massively ambitious and a huge blockbuster success, covering every aspect of Operation Overlord in a series of fast-moving docudrama scenes, from planning in England to the invasion itself. Actor Richard Todd, who starred in the film, was actually a veteran of the invasion and was able to recreate his wartime experience on camera, except now playing the role of a major. Many of the battle scenes were filmed on location, referencing footage from the battle itself. As a result, the film has a huge level of authenticity, and the excitement is aided by a star-studded cast that includes John Wayne, Henry Fonda, Richard Burton, Sean Connery, Robert Mitchum, Rod Steiger, and Kurt Jürgens. But the look of sheer astonishment on the face of German actor Gert Frobe when delivering coffee to his unit, he sees the invading forces advancing over the horizon. I'm sure he just drops the coffee. It's scenes like that make a film. Coming in at number 1, could it really be anything else, with Steven Spielberg's 1998 blockbuster hit Saving Private Ryan, starring Tom Hanks and Matt Damon. The film was the highest grossing of its year and earned a total of 5 Academy Awards, including Best Director for Spielberg, not to mention nominations for many others. More than 20 years later, it's still one of the best depictions of battle of all time. The most standout moment of the film is the opening 25 minutes depicting the US landing on Omaha Beach, and was perhaps one of the bloodiest battles of that day. One of its most admirable accomplishments is the cinematography, using the sight of machine guns raking down soldiers to make you feel as if either you're a German attacking or you too are one of the soldiers raiding the beach. Back and forth. And it depicts a realistic, frightening war scene. Just the opening scene alone cost $12 million and featured more than 1,500 extras. The disorienting, shocking assault is one of the most technically dazzling and emotionally harrowing. Tom Hanks' character, Captain Miller, upon reaching the shore, is tasked with removing the German defenses, and after that is done, searching for Private First Class James Ryan, played by Matt Damon. It is an unforgettably powerful, visceral, and influential viewing experience, said one source. The movie was actually based on the true story of the Nyland brothers, 4 Irish Americans from New York State, whom 2 were killed. The third was thought to be killed, later revealed to be survived. And the 4th brother served in Normandy with the 101st Airborne. 101st Airborne seems to be one of the most highlighted points of this battle, as many of the other films discussed cover them. A screaming eagle, he was removed from action on compassionate grounds after being told of his brother's deaths. Though one was expected to come home, 2 ended up surviving, and that was probably, considering the circumstances, a happier ending for their mother. Well, that's our list. Comment below explaining what you think, what we left out. There are many other great films about this battle, some taking place on the beach itself, some in the background and depicting actions behind the scenes. I covered what I believe to be the 6 most important films depicting the scene. If you want to celebrate this anniversary of that fateful invasion, go ahead and do so with these films. They range in tone and execution, and really just a great way to both celebrate the heroes that gave their lives and also to reflect upon this vastly important historical event. Thanks again for stopping by. I've been Johnny. I'll see you again.